Hey, welcome to Scooby-topia. Before on the channel, we've looked at some of the most requested Scooby-Doo villains that gave you nightmares, from my own personal nightmare of Gramps the Vamp, Old Ebenezer the Puppet Master, or Elias Kingston. Last time, we even got into the highly traumatizing Dr. Coffin. This time, we're going from Spectre Spook to the living dead that doesn't even want to eat your brains, the No-Face Zombie and his classic episode. The No-Face Zombie Chase Case is the 8th episode of the Scooby-Doo show, as this show produced yet another of the most terrifying monsters for the dog detective to face, so much so that he's one of the most requested to join this lineup. He even had a cameo in the DTV movie Goblin King, which I covered previously. Please don't make me watch that movie again to go find it. Let's get into what made this iconic ghoul such an unforgettable entry in Scooby-Doo's repertoire of baddies. We immediately get a very disconcerting introduction to this guy, limping his way around, skulking in the shadows and trying to break into a coin shop. Note the scions here. Meanwhile, the boys are ready for their 6-foot hero sandwich, with Scooby having to go eat from the other end all the way outside. Unfortunately for him, this is right where the zombie is as it breaks down the door and skulks over to grab him. Scoop tries to explain the no-face zombie, and right outside, the cops arrive to hear about the stolen coin supposedly cursed by its owner for any possessor to have bad luck while his zombie roams to reclaim it. Scoop turns out to be the only witness, explaining again what he saw, but the lieutenant isn't buying it. While the gang is unsure, a car driven by the zombie itself pulls right up, allowing the others to finally see for themselves, making chase. It cleverly pulls around its hearse so that it's chasing them instead, so they circle around until it runs inside the Dilly Dally Dolly Company. A security guard answers the door and they explain, but he angrily closes the door on them, the zombie menacingly staring down with no eyes. Fred and Daphne climb up a tree for a better view. What a pose, and Fred spots the zombie, but Daphne's attempt to see for herself lands her on the ground, bouncing Scooby into the other window full of plush toys. Sadly for him, the zombie drags itself over and he has to play toy.
The no-face zombie.
It seems to work as it passes by, and the gang prepare to save him, but...
Here you go! Uh-oh! I shifted the wrong thingamajig!
She finally gets it going, and Shaggy finds Scooby's foreplay. A car pulls up so the girls hide, unfortunately in the crate, which one of the men then take back to the garage where the girls are trapped. Shaggy tries to help, but he's not much better at using a forklift than Daphne, and the amount of damage they must have taken from this tumble, ouch. Mr. Dilly and Mr. Dally, yes that's their names, catch them, and inside their office the gang explains, but the guard already told them and they don't believe it, leaving them to investigate. A little too well though, as the zombie nabs one of them. Meanwhile, why is Velma sitting on the desk like this? I did some polling on various social media, asking this exact question. Every answer was just that she's too gay. Lesbians have to sit that way on a desk, unfortunately. The more you know. While looking through the magazine though, she finds pages torn out, just in time for the zombie to show up. Scooby distracts with some of the toys, disappearing to safety with the stolen medallion. They try to escape the ghoul in the elevator, but there's a giant gorilla for some reason, so the boys make it to the cafeteria. The two of them are sent to get another magazine to find what was torn out, while Fred calls the cops to update them. You can't tell me Daphne wasn't serving here. The zombie slowly chases them away, while the boys are distracted and run into the gorilla again. Though how did he get inside that machine? He's kinda big, right? While Fred and Velma try to keep the zombie out, it opens the other door and reclaims the medallion from Daphne. Realizing the gorilla is loose, the trio zoom through and push it out. And I absolutely love this ridiculous pose they are in. Notice it's also in the YouTube thumbnail. Just as the boys feel safe, the zombie drags itself up, and Scooby falls into the toy duplicator, magically making more of him. The humans all reconvene, and follow the cries for help into the room of Scooby's, using a Scooby snack to find the real one. The boys then leave a second time to get the magazine, but unfortunately the gorilla follows, and the zombie seems to be looking for something. The boys get the magazine, but the gorilla chases them until they have to try and flag down a car, which somehow is being driven by the gorilla. Seriously, how is the gorilla getting into all these places? The ghoul drags his way to the duplicator where the gang follow and hide, but Daphne accidentally sets off one of the talking dollies. She is really going through it this episode. Also, the doll is clearly voiced by Pat Stevens, aka Velma.
Mama, Mama, Mama.
The zombie lets the doll pass though, so Fred has them walk past like dolls, stealing the medallion back in turn. The boys are safe with the lieutenant, it seems, more confused to hear about the gorilla, and the rest of the gang run right into them. Just as he tells them he still doesn't believe in the zombie, it steals the medallion right out of his hand and...
What was that?
That was a zombie.
Damn, Velma is back with the sass. Everyone breaks into chase, including the gorilla, and I love incorporating their wacky vehicles here. They use one to catch the ghoul, but to their shock, it's destroyed. A robot all along. The gorilla swings down to steal the medallion, jumping into the hearse, but the boys forklift it right up. Captured, the lieutenant wonders what a gorilla would want with the medallion, so Fred unmasks Mr. Dilly. He heard of $1 million reward for the rare coin, built the zombie with his toy background to steal and deliver it, used the gorilla costume to scare the gang away enough to get it, and tossed Mr. Daly and the guard in the storeroom out of the way. Mr. Daly opens the cafeteria as thanks, but unfortunately the other Scoobies ate it all. Weird, since we established they can't eat earlier with the Scooby snack, but, you know. And that's the rundown of the nightmarish no-face zombie. So many people after prior entries of this miniseries have described how frightening this guy was, especially because of the fact that he just doesn't have a face. A face can carry the entirety of how scary a design can strike you, but the idea of a creature that doesn't have one at all, seeing without eyes, breathing without a nose, growling with no mouth, is something that just hits you as inherently wrong, especially for a child. Not to mention his total serve with that pink robe. For the adults that felt this trauma as children, this episode seems to be one of the most remembered of the bunch, always brought up fondly as a highlight of their Scooby memories, or for some, not so fondly, for those who were truly petrified by this undead atrocity, even if it was only a robot. The reveal that one of the actual owners of the company was behind it is also a solid twist that isn't as easy to guess as some of the others out there, with lots of great jokes throughout, even if some of the best are at the expense of poor Daphne, though I love it. She'll have her time in the next episode. What about you? Were you scared by this episode like so many others, or do you find it highly unthreatening? Let's hear about why or why not in the comments. Next, we'll take a look at another episode from this series, except not a villain but rather a deep dive into the subject matter, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Like the video and all that as well. Follow me on the social medias if you want to, etc. I'll see you next time in Scooby-Topia. Bye!